In this video, you're going to go through a command line crash course, which will help you master the command line and be able to use it for Node or any other environment. So this is going to consist of a list of commands which will help you understand and learn the command line by doing. So let's start with our first example. Who am I? This command will tell you the user who is currently logged in. So let's try it. And you can see that I am currently logged in as Dev Island. So I suggest going for this layout to make things easy for you. So I've got the terminal on the right hand side and I've got the File Explorer or the Window Explorer on the left hand side. Alright, so now let's move to the next example. Now you can decide to become root. So the root user is a user with a superpower. Basically, the root can do anything on the computer. This includes deleting importance files like system files. Obviously, this is not recommended, but this is the way to do it. It's by running this command sudo -i. So if I try that now, it's going to ask you for the password. This is the password you use to log into your computer. And now you can see that I am logged in as root. And I can try who am I again. And you can see that the current user is root. Now you can decide to go back to the first user by typing SU, the user you want. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that error. If you type who am I now, it's going to tell you that you are currently logged in as Dev Island. All right. So you don't see the same thing there. You see bash -3.2. All right. So all you need to do is just restart your terminal and you can recover that. All right. So now let's move to the next example, where I am. So this command will tell you the current directory where you are at the moment. So if you type pwd, it will tell me that I am currently in root/users/dev island. So basically when I log in as Dev Island, I'm automatically directed to this directory. I am not in the root directory of the computer, by the way. So to go to the root directory of the computer, I need another command, which is cd. So cd will help you move to another directory. All right. So if I want to check what's inside this directory, first I can type ls and it will tell me what's inside Dev Island's folder. And these are the different folders I can see. And these are the same ones that you will see if you open your Explorer. So that's the desktop, documents, etc. So if I want to go to any of these from here, I can just type cd, then type the name of the folder. I don't have to finish the whole name of the folder. I can just press tab and it will give me a suggestion. All right, so I'm gonna click enter now, and now I am inside the desktop. And to check that, I can type pwd, where I am, and this is telling me that I am currently inside the desktop folder, which is located there. All right, now to see the different files and folders inside the desktop, you type ls again, and here are the different folders and files inside the desktop. And this is matching with the Explorer. Now, if you want to move to another directory using the full path of that directory, you can still use cd followed by the full path of the directory. So for example, if I want to go to the users folder, I can just type cd /users/, and if I do pwd, then I can see that I am inside the users folder. To go to the root directory, I can type cd /. All right. And if I do pwd, I can see that I am inside the root directory of my computer, and typing ls will tell me what folders and files I've got inside this directory. All right, so now let's move to something else. So if you want to move up one directory, you can use this syntax. So cd space followed by 2 dots. If you want to move to a relative path, you can still use the 2 dots syntax. So for example, here we are moving up one directory, then we're moving up again another directory, and then we move into the directory we want. So let's try this. So at the moment, I'm inside this folder. So let's move up one directory. So this is where I am right now. All right, so now let's move to the node folder, for example. So let's go to dev island first. So let's check what we've got inside. So cd dev island, and then desktop, and then node. So this is where I am at the moment. All right, so now let's say that I want to move up 2 directories and then move to a directory inside dev island. All right, so inside dev island, we've got these directories. So let's say that we want to move to downloads. So first, let's move up one directory like that, and then another one. And now let's move to the downloads folder. So if I press tab, then it suggests this folder. So let's see, and this is our current folder. All right, so let's try something else. Now let's create a directory named node course. So the syntax is make directory like that. So let's try that. So we're going to go back to the node folder. So let's move up one directory. Now we are inside dev island. And now let's move to the desktop and then to node. So this is where we are at the moment. We are inside this folder. Now let's create our directory. So make directory node course. And you can see our directory created right there. Perfect. All right, so let's try something else. Now we want to list elements inside the node directory. So this is something that we covered already. So you can just type ls or type the full path of the directory like that. So ls will tell you that there is one folder, right? And if you want, you can also type ls, the full path of node, and you'll get the same results. So the difference between that and that is that you run this inside the same folder. So we are inside the node folder there. That's why we typed ls like that. This one can be used anywhere. So if you go to the root directory, for example, you can still type the same command. So I'm going to use the history here. So if I use the up and down buttons, so up and then up, that gives me the command that I run there. So you can just press enter and it's going to run the same command. All right, so I've just run this command from the root directory and it still works. All right, so now let's go back to our node folder. So by the way, you can copy things like that. So using the copy control command C and then command V. Otherwise, you can just do something like this. So if I select that and I just drag it and drop it anywhere, it's going to copy it like like that. All right. Okay, so now we are back to the node folder. So let's go to the next example. Now we want to remove the directory named node course. All right, so first of all, we're going to be using another command called remove or remove directory. Now there is a very useful command called man, which stands for manual. So this one will give you information about a certain command. So let's try that on remove. So manual remove. So this will give you very useful bits of information about how to use the rm command. So these are the options that you can use with that command, and it explains here what each option stands for. So for example, -r will remove the file hierarchy, all right, rooted in each file argument. So if you use this with a folder, for example, then it's going to remove everything inside that folder. So if you try -f, it's going to remove things without prompting for confirmation. All right. So let's try this. So to exit this, I'm going to press Q for quit. So now let's remove our folder node course. So first of all, I'm not going to use rm. I'm going to use remove directory, and this one can be used with an empty directory only. So like that, right? So if I do this, then I've just deleted the node course directory. All right, so let's create it again. And I'm going to open this using brackets. So of course it opened already. So this will make things easy for us to create files, etc. So I'm going to create a new file inside node course. I'm going to call it app.js, and I'm going to create another folder inside it. I'm going to call it CSS, for example, and a new file inside CSS, call it style.css. So now we've got our folder node course, and inside it we've got files and folders. Now let's say we want to remove everything inside the folder node course and the folder itself. So to do this, you use the rm command, and then you use the options. So let's say that we want to remove everything. So we use the -r option, and also we want to avoid the confirmation prompt. So to do that, we're going to use the F option, and you can combine these by typing -rf. So if I do this, then it's going to delete the whole folder with everything inside. Okay. Now let's move to the next one. So let's create a file, app.js. So to create a file, use the touch command, and here is our file. Perfect. Now let's check permissions of our file. So permissions are the different rights that you give to different types of users when it comes to a certain file. So some users can read a file, some users can read and write inside a file, some users can execute an executable file, and so on. So there are three types of users. So this user is the one who owns the file. This one is the group to which this user belongs to. So on your computer, you can create groups, and each user can belong to a certain group. And then other is everyone else. Now the permissions are read, so you can read the file, write, you can change the file, write inside it, edit it. Execute, you can actually execute the file if it's an executable. Okay, so now to check the permissions, you just type ls and then the option here is L. All right, so let's try that with our file. So I'm going to try ls-l app.js. And you can see here that we've got read and write for the owner, and then read only for the group, and then read only for everyone else. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Now you can add a permission to a type of users. So let's say that we want to add the execute permission to the type group. So to do that, use the command change mode, okay, so or chmod. So let's try that. So chmod. So we start with the type of users. So we are looking here as the type group, and we're adding the execute right, which is X, and our file is app.js. So now if we try again ls-l app.js, you can see that this time the group can actually read and execute. Okay. So just to avoid confusion, so the 3 characters that you see here belong to the owner, and then these 3 characters belong to the group, and then these 3 characters belong to everyone else. So when you see a combination like that, it's read, write, and execute. So we don't have the X right there. This means that this group can't execute this file, right? And then the first character that you see, in our case, it's just showing a minus sign. This is referring to the type of item we are dealing with. So in our case, it's a normal file, so that's why it says minus. If this was a folder, for example, or a directory, then you would see D there instead. Okay. All right, in the next video, you're going to move to the next example where you're going to deal with permissions using a simpler model using numbers.